Hello and welcome to the SAE Quantum Creative Media Institute Virtual Open Day. I'm Dr. Ian McManus, and I'm going to be talking to you about our games courses in terms of what they involve and what our students create and where our students actually go after their courses. So a bit of background on me. I'm the department coordinator for games at our SAE Brisbane campus. My background is primarily actually from industry. So I've worked mostly as an artificial intelligence programmer at Irrational Games on Bioshock Infinite, for 2K Australia on the Bureau, and at the Creative Assembly on Medieval 2 Total War. Outside of that, I've also done a lot of work as an independent developer. So I've developed a lot of games, I've developed mobile applications during my time as an indie dev. And at the moment, I'm currently, as well as department coordinator, I'm a facilitator for our Studio 2, which is a module that simulates being in a game studio. And I work with our middle one, the second of the three ones that we have. And then I also work in Final Project, which is a capstone project spanning 2 trimesters that students do at the end of the bachelor degree. Now, importantly, if you've got any questions at all, please do leave a comment on the video and we'll be able to help out. So looking at what game development actually involves. So within games, we've got 2 main sides to it. So we have the traditional games for entertainment. So creating games that are intended as being fun, enjoyable, relaxing experiences. That's the area that we're kind of traditionally familiar with of what games means. But there's actually another side to games, this area known as serious games. And that includes doing games for the purpose of education, might be games to develop training tools for people, or games for data visualization. So using techniques from games to represent really complex information, but doing that in a way that makes it accessible and makes it easy for people to interact and work with it. And within our games courses, we actually have a mix of both. We are primarily on the games for entertainment side. We do look into areas such as games for data visualization and education and training at times. And within our actual games courses, we also have 2 sides to them. So we have our games design course. So games design is about creating the experience for the player from that moment to moment. What do you want the player to be thinking? What do you want them to be feeling? What do you want them to be doing? What do you want them to know at any point in time? And how is your game facilitating that? How is it guiding them through that? That's the essence of what our games designers are doing. And then our games programming stream, students in that work very closely with our design side. And what the programming students are doing is they are working to create the systems and the tools to bring the vision that the games designers have to life and to make the development and the workflow as streamlined as we possibly can. Now, in terms of then when you're working in the games development course, there's a number of bits of software that we'll typically use. One of the common ones that we use is a game engine known as Unity. It's been used for a lot of quite large scale games, and it's one that's freely available. So you can start getting up and running with it now. There's some tutorials available. So it's something you can immediately dive into. So we use that with a language called C#. In some cases, we also work with Unreal Engine. Again, it's another one that's been used for some very large scale games. It's freely available. So it's something that these are tools that you can actually start diving into now. And I really recommend doing that if it's an area that you're interested in. Other common software that we use is things like Visual Studio. We also use other software for working with what's called version control. So we keep copies of our work so we don't lose them. From a hardware point of view, we work quite frequently with virtual reality headsets. So we have Oculus Go and Oculus Rift devices. So that gives us VR equipment that is tied to a desktop, and also VR equipment that actually doesn't require being tethered directly to a computer. We also commonly work with mobile devices as well, developing apps or games for running on those devices. Quite often Android tablets is one of the common ones that we work with. Now, in terms of what you'll actually do as a student, so there's we know what the game's development involves, we know what our streams are, and we know what the tools we've got. But what would you actually do as a game design student? Well, for game design, we're focusing on that player experience. So we're doing a lot of working out, what do we want the player to be doing? How are we facilitating the game doing that? How are we making that is something that we can guide the player to rather than directly telling them to. And working out what we want to teach the player, because whenever a player dives into a new game, they're having to do new things, which means we need to guide them, we need to teach them, we need to work out how we want to actually do that. So then as a games design student, you're designing those rules and the mechanics, those building blocks to make the game. And you're building the levels and the user interface for the game and designing those to provide an accessible user experience, to guide the player to what we want them to be doing. And you're using your skills and your experience really in that guiding and teaching role for the player and influencing how you want the player to be feeling. Do you want them to be feeling energized or excited? Do you want them to be feeling somber and thoughtful? And in games design, it's about working out how you want the player to be impacted and what you want them to be doing, and then creating the systems to make that happen. Then on the programming side of that, our big focus is on those systems and tools, making things efficient, making things easy for people to use. Programmers develop a really effective tool that then allows the team to work much more effectively. That allows the team to spend their time polishing and refining the game, which makes the overall game better. So that's why making things efficient allows it to run on more people's computers. Making tools easy to use allows designers and our content creation people to actually work more effectively there. So we're about assisting the team. So as a student in that role, you'll be designing and building those systems to bring those rules and mechanics the games design students have developed to life. You'll be building those tools and working with the team to improve those tools and refine them. And you're doing a lot of analyzing and improving the performance of the game. How can we make it run faster? Because that allows us to scale up the game, allows the game to be running on more devices then. So in terms of the kinds of things that our students have created, we have a lot of that actually available online. So for a few of our campuses, we've got dedicated pages on the itch.io website where you can go and see the previous work that our students have created across the course of their degree. So not just stuff from their final at the end of the degree, but throughout it. But in terms of what our students create, they're making 2D and 3D games. They're making games for desktop and mobile and virtual reality and augmented reality. They're making walking simulators, adventure games, strategy games, detective games, graphic novels, rhythm games, fighting games, action games, serious games, and everything beyond that. Our students are making a phenomenal amount of things. And there's a huge variety there that you can see and play and get a sense of the kinds of things that you would be able to be working on there. So in terms of then how the course is structured, so how all of that fits in, our first stage, we're about building the fundamental skills to make games both individually and also in a team. And so that's a core area, is building up those teamwork skills and understanding what does it actually take to make a game solo, but then what changes when we're working in a group? How do we wrangle that and make that work effectively? In stage two, we introduce our studio modules, so simulating being in that game studio. And those modules, we start to really dive deeper into the major, so design or programming. So designers are diving a lot more into that experience for the player, those mechanics, the impact that we're wanting to have, that teaching of the player, whereas programmers are looking into areas like artificial intelligence and graphics and network programming. And then finally in capstone, students are working on their final project. It spans 2 trimesters and they're working in cross-disciplinary teams to design, to build, to refine, to launch a project. And they're working with students that might be from audio, they might be working with graphic designers, animation students, film students. So they might be working with people across all different disciplines to create these final capstone projects that they're working on. So that's the general structure of how we work through the course. And so the next steps in terms of what you need to be doing. So we'll have a presentation on how to actually apply for study at 3 p.m. today. We've also got contact details there for if you want to reach out and talk to one of our fantastic course advisors. You can also organize a personalized virtual campus tour. And if you're wanting to just dive into applying, I've got the link there for being able to do that. So thank you for listening. If you've got any questions, please do leave a comment below, and one of our team is going to be able to dive in and we'll be able to assist and help out. Thank you very, very much for listening.